Hello and welcome. I am so excited to have each and every one of you here. I love seeing familiar faces. Orly Waba here, founder of Abraham's Legacy, an app that allows people from all over the world, where so many people from different places, feel free to write where you're coming to us from, gives us the opportunity to complete books of Tehillim in unison in real time and create a really incredible community who I've truly come to love and admire in such a great way. And I'm so excited for today's program. Before I introduce our speaker for today, just a few announcements that I'd like to share. The agenda for tonight. In just a moment, I'm going to be introducing our speaker, Rabbi Uri Greenspan, who I absolutely adore. He's fantastic. And there's so many ways that you can connect to Tehillim further through the resources that he provides. I'll share all of that with you. But right after his talk, those of you that have any questions, he's agreed to stay on for a Q&A. So if there are any questions, you'll have the opportunity to ask the rabbi and ask your questions, whether it be about Tehillim or the topic that he's going to be speaking to us about. Right after the Q&A, we're going to be engaging in our Tehillim read, 6 minutes of reading Tehillim in unison through the Abraham's Legacy app. If you don't already have it, please take the moment to download it. If you do not have a smartphone, no worries. Just make sure you grab your Tehillim book. And during that time, you can read with us. And Bezrat Hashem will be able to finish a book of Tehillim in a 6-minute period. I also want to encourage all of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, for those of you that maybe this may be their first event, we have loads and loads of talks from past events about so many different parakim and Tehillim, so many different topics. They are incredible by so many rebbitzins and rabbis. So take the time to check over our YouTube channel at Abraham's Legacy. And of course, after our Tehillim read, we're going to be doing our raffle. You guys know how I love to do raffles. So we're going to be doing a raffle with those of us that are on. I will be placing a link in the chat in just a moment for you to fill out just with your name and email address. And the winner of the raffle is going to receive a chapter of their choosing for the course of a month, a dedicated chapter that they can either do, whether it's for refuah shlema of someone, or leilui nishmat, or a zivug, whatever it may be. And it'll be over the course of a month. This is a $180 value, as we do have opportunities even outside of the raffle for those of you that are interested in dedicating a chapter and having it be on everyone's app. We're 20,000 plus members strong. For the course of a month, you have the opportunity to do that, whether it be for a week, it's $54 a month, $180. This is a complete donation to the organization. It allows us to continue to develop further and add additional features. And hopefully at the end today, I'll share a little bit about what we have coming up next. So without further ado, I am excited to introduce Rabbi Uri Greenspan. He comes to us from Highland Park, New Jersey, and he has semicha from his Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Aharon Schecter, Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Rabbi Chaim, Berlin, under whom he learned for 9 years. Rabbi Greenspan also has semicha from Rav Zalman Nechamia Goldberg, Zichron Livracha. And Rabbi Greenspan moved to Philadelphia. He joined the Community Kollel 19 years ago. And in September of 2012, Rabbi Greenspan founded the first Seder Bais Medrash, where men of all ages come to learn Torah on a variety of topics, whether it be in person and whether it be online. And Rabbi Greenspan also gives many shiurim that are listened to by people throughout the world. Now, he's going to be speaking to us today about preparing for Yamim Norarim. It's a very, very important topic for us right now. We're going to be focusing on Mizmor 27, on chapter 27, LiDovid, Hashem, Uri V'Yishi. Why do we say LiDovid during the Yamim HaNoraim? So you can grab your Tehillim book out. You can open up the Abraham's Legacy app so that you can follow along. I do want to mention on a personal note that I was connected to Rabbi Greenspan. I'm not exactly sure at this point, Rabbi. I don't remember how how long.
A couple years ago.
Yes,
2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago. So we connected back then. I very, very much admire him. He puts out such fantastic WhatsApp messages, 10 to 15 minute shiurim that he sends out on a weekly basis. Tehillim life lessons. There are others as well. He has Musar shiurim, Shemirat halashon shiurim, Maharal. He has his podcast. I'm going to place all of the links here, but just so that you know, okay, in the email that you received where I wrote the rabbi's bio, you'll have all of those links there as well. to the different WhatsApp chats that you can join and enjoy from what the rabbi has to teach us. I'll be placing them here in the chat as well. So without further ado, give you Rabbi Uri Greenspan. Thank you so much for being here with us, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I thank you, and I thank everyone for joining. As the Gemara tells us, we begin with a thank you to the host, and you are the host literally and figuratively on the Zoom as well. And it should be a tzchus, a tremendous merit for your grandfather that the Tehillim Abram Legacy app, which you spoke about and we saw the video, goes all over the world. It should be a continued tzchus for his merit, aliyah for his neshama. And I also want to just point out where we, all of us now, can look at you, Ms. Orly Waba, as a person who has a dream and puts that dream into action. And you see all around the world, look at the stats. And it's an encouragement, a chizuk for all of us to take that dream and run with it and see with Siyata Shmaya how it can be successful.
Thank you.
Now, for me, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. For you in Eretz Yisrael, I want to thank you. It's Erev Shabbos for you already. So to come and spend time on a Tehillim Share Erev Shabbos, it's a tremendous chus. Noshim Tzidkonius like yourselves, and this is what keeps the world going. I originally was planning on speaking about chapter 19. And as I was getting closer to giving the shir, I saw that, wait a minute, it's almost Elul. And I'm up to Mizmor Chav Zayin in my Tehillim shir. And I said, it only makes sense to switch gears and focus on LiDovid Hashem Oiri V'yishi. Before I begin, there's a word I used, and I said Mizmor Chav Zayin. Why is Tehillim called Mizmorim? What is a Mizmor? So generally speaking, people think correctly, a Mizmor is like a song. But really, the truth is, the Svarim Akdoshim tell us, the Arizal and those type of Svarim, that Mizmor is from the word Zemira, to prune. And the Levush tells us that a person should say Tehillim before he davens, because then he'll be able to push away those klipos, those koichos hara, and his tefillas will be able to go up to Shemaim. And in fact, when we daven every single morning, psuke de zimra, it's the same point. Zmira is to push away, to prune away those klipos hara, those koichos hara, those evil powers that are trying to prevent our tefillas from going up to Shemaim. So this is the understanding of why we refer to Tehillim as Mizmor. Let's begin with a few questions. What is the theme of Mizmor Chav Zayin that David HaMelech wants us to understand? When did Bnei Yisrael or David HaMelech write and say, LiDovid Hashem Oir V'yishi? And why, of all of 150 prokim Mizmorim, as we said, is this specific one the one which is dedicated to be learned and recited twice a day by many Ashkenazim and by Sfardim? I reached out to a Sfardi friend of mine, and he said Sfardim also say every day after Shachris. In fact, he told me Sfardim say sometimes some Sfardim the whole year round after davening. Why by Yamim Norarim is this kapitel Chav Zayin the one that has been chosen for hundreds of years to be recited Rosh Chodesh Elul all the way through to Shmiyat Atzeres? So these are the questions we want to begin with. But before we do that, I think it's very important to appreciate on a greater level what is so special about reciting Tehillim. And even more than that, what is so special about learning about Tehillim? To that, we turn to Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich, who actually is closer to you in Eretz Yisrael than he is to me. But we have his sefer here, and he brings Gemara and Pesachim. And the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Shubin Levi says that Tehillim was said over with 10 different expressions of praise. Ba'asara ma'amoros shel shevach nemar sefer Tehillim. These are the words of a great Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And he continues, the Gemara tells us, the words of praises of Nitzuach, of Nigun, of Maskil, Mizmor, etc. and etc. And when I saw this Gemara, I was thinking to myself, well, where else do we have this number 10? And I said, well, the Mishnah tells us in Perkei Avos, Ba'asara ma'amoros nivra ha'olam. The world was created with 10 utterances, 10 sayings. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said 10 things, and he created this beautiful world for us. And then I looked at the Maharsha. He brings down the Maharsha over here, and that's exactly what the Maharsha tells us. David HaMelech picked up where Moshe Rabbeinu left off. Moshe Rabbeinu gave us 5 Sfarim. Reishis Shmois, Vayikra B'midbar Dvarim. David HaMelech gave us 5 Sfarim of Tehillim. And the Maharsha tells us over here that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with these 10 utterances, the praises, the 10 praises are connected to the integral DNA of the world. And therefore, Tehillim is intrinsic as part of the creation of the universe. She'asara minei shevach halal, says the Maharsha, these 10 praises, mechuvanim kineged asara ma'amoros. They correspond, they connect to the 10 ma'amoros, shebehem nivra olam, as well as the 10 levels of Kedushos Eretz Yisrael. As well as how many people authored Tehillim, tells us the Gemara in Bava Basra, Asara Zekenim. There were 10 tzaddikim who created and gave us Tehillim. David HaMelech put it all down for us, but there were a total of 10, Adam HaRishon, B'nai Korach, and on and on. So we see over here that Tehillim is part of the actual DNA of the universe. The praises of Tehillim and the 10 utterances that Hashem used to create this world are all one and the same. So when we say Tehillim, we are connecting to the functioning of the universe. That's what's taking place. He continues and tells us, he addresses a very important point. It was something that years ago, I had this question. When I'm reading Tehillim, am I saying David HaMelech's words? I'm sure this question must have come up to others as well over here. Are you saying David HaMelech's words, or are you saying your own words? And the answer is David HaMelech wrote Tehillim for each and every one of us for Ruach HaKodesh. He wrote it for himself, and he wrote it for every single one of us. And that elevates our power, our koyach hadibur, that when we say Tehillim, we are giving the universe functionality. We are healing people. Just like Hashem created the world, we are healing people. We're giving zechuyos, as you had mentioned in the introduction. Before we go back to Mizmor Chav Zayin, David HaMelech told us, Chazal say, he was mevakish, he requested from Hashem. He requested from Hashem that Tehillim should be studied just like Negoyim and Ahalos. The Mishnayos of Negoyim and Ahalos are esoteric topics. And David requested from Hashem that the same way we sit and study in the Bais Medrash, Mishnayos, and the Sugyas of Negoyim and Ahalos, which purify a person from impurity to purity. So too, David said, don't just read the words of Tehillim, but understand the depths and the beauty. Learn it like you learn Negoyim and Ahalos. This is what David HaMelech requested from Hashem. With that introduction, how the fabric of the universe runs with Tehillim, and that our words of Tehillim and our study of Tehillim is what heals people, literally heals people. Rav Shimshon Pincus Zatzal, he said, what do we do many times after davening? We say there's a chayla, there's a sick person. Let's say Tehillim for that person. He says, well, we all believe Tehillim, we all know it works. So how come sometimes you have people in the back of a shul that they're talking? What's going on? We're saying Tehillim, we're healing, we're the doctors now. It's in the fabric and the genes of the world. We now come back to some questions which we had. What is the theme? What is the message of Mizmor Chav Zayin? Which, if you take the letters the other way around, is Zach. Chav Zayin is Chav and the Zayin. You turn it around, it's Zayin Chav. Just like Shemen Zayis Zach, pure olive oil. Mizmor Chav Zayin is miyuchad, is unique in that the theme, the message, although it has specific ones, it's about a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is nothing greater in the world that a person can have when he has a relationship with Hashem. And if you want to know, as a litmus test, what is my level of my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the Ribbono Shel Olam? Next time you daven the Shemona Esrei, when you're getting towards the end of Shemona Esrei, and you get into the bracha of Ritzei and Moedim, are you feeling a sense of, I don't want to leave, I want more brachas. I don't want Shemona Esrei to be over. I want to stay with you, Hashem. Or is the person feeling like when he's by Atach and Antanu, right in the beginning, Ata Kodesh, and sometimes you see the children by Yamim Norarim, they look how many pages. I see my son. I did the same thing when I was his age. They see how many pages left. I remember as a little boy, my neck was really hurting me. I'm holding that heavy art scroll, Machzer, and I'm standing down Shemona Esrei, and I turn the page and I get to Aleinu. And I said to myself, oh, it's almost finished. It's almost over. And then I turned the page again. I couldn't believe it. It's still going on and on. This is a litmus test. If we're davening the Shemona Esrei and we don't want Shemona Esrei to end, and when we take our 3 steps back and we feel like we're saying goodbye to a close friend who was just visiting, and now we have to say goodbye to our friend, and you can't hang up the phone, you say goodbye. How many times do we say goodbye to that relative, that close friend, and we still continue talking? Mizmor Chav Zayin, this is the theme. The relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is also going to be the reason as to why it has been chosen as the Mizmor of 150 kapitloch of chapters of Tehillim to be recited, Yamim Norarim, because that is the goal in life. The goal in life is through the Torah, through the mitzvahs, to build that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How sad it can be that a person can learn Torah, can do mitzvahs anoshim milumada, which means mitzvahs out of rote, and unfortunately, not develop that connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How sad that can be. The Medrash tells us Ayri b'Rosh Hashanah v'Yishi b'Yom Kippurim. Very famous Medrash, which is to one of the main reasons as to why Mizmor Chav Zayin is recited twice daily from Elul until Shmini Atzeres, because it's a reference to Hashem is my light on Rosh Hashanah and my salvation on Yom Kippur. My light meaning that throughout the year we get busy and sometimes we lose focus. The Mishnah tells us that a person is obligated to say that the world was created for him. I think about this Mishnah every time I use my GPS because I do not have a sense of directions. And when I put on my GPS and then it starts telling me recalculating. I once had to make a pit stop. And then I heard the GPS said, please turn around. I'm like, what's going on here? I didn't realize that program like this. Comes Yamim Norarim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, please recalculate. Let's build that relationship. That's why I created you here in this world. Let's recalculate. Oiri on Rosh Hashanah, Yishi on Yom Kippurim. And the Sfarim elaborate. Oiri is a reference to the Kiyah Shofar. When the person hears the blast of the shofar, he wakes up. I remember a few years ago, I was in shul, and I was facing the Rav who was about to blow the shofar, and there's a person sitting on the side. And he's a very friendly, happy type of person, and he's taking off his talis and tefillin, and he's waving to some people, saying good morning, and he didn't see the Rav get ready for the first day of the Tekiyah Shofar, and the Rav let out a blast, and he literally fell. He grabbed onto the stender, and he realized how it was a little funny that people were watching him, and he got scared. That is the message of the shofar. That is the oiri. That is the alarm clock. That is the wake-up call. And Yishi, of course, is Yom Kippur, is the salvation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wipes the clean slate. Wipes it, no Averis anymore. But there's another approach as to why specifically we recite Mizmor Chav Zayin, which is what I want to focus on more for the rest of our time. If we go to the root of why we need a Yom Kippur, the root of why we need Yom Kippur is because we fell short in our service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And David HaMelech tells us, Achas sha'alti me'eis Hashem. There's one thing, Achas sha'alti me'eis Hashem. Oysa avakesh. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I request this of you. Please grant me shifti beveis Hashem kol yemei chayai. Please. David HaMelech is the king. He has the power to go anywhere. He has the army. He has the skills to do what he wants. And he says, I want to do one thing and one thing only. I want to shifti beveis Hashem kol yemei chayai. Lachzois b'noyam Hashem. Lachzois is from the word chazoin, we just added the 3 weeks. Chazoin Yeshayahu. Chazoin means to see. Lachzois b'noyam Hashem. David HaMelech is asking Hashem, I want to take my limud haTorah and I want to build that relationship with you, Hashem. Lachzois b'noyam Hashem. There's a Medrash Tanchuma that tells us that Medrash Tanchuma Parshas Tzaveh that tells us when David HaMelech said this kapitel, this Mizmor. Omar David Hashem Oyri v'yishi mimi ira. David HaMelech said, Hashem is my light. Hashem is my salvation. Mimi ira. Who will I be afraid from? There's no one to be afraid from. Hashem is with me. When did he say this? Emasai Omar David. Bigdud Amalek. When he was fighting Amalek in Shmuel Aleph Perek Lamed. Lefi she'osei imam milchama b'layla v'hargam. He fought with them at night and he killed them. Now, fighting at night might not sound like anything difficult for us over here with electricity and lights. You can't fight at night back in those days. Hashem made a nace and he had the lightning blasts to light up the night so they can see their enemies. But when did David say this? When he was fighting against Amalek. And remember this because we're going to tie this into the end of Parshas Kiseitse. David is fighting with Amalek, and he says, Hashem, Oyri v'yishi. You are my light, you are my salvation. I am not mimi ira. Who will I be afraid from? From no one. Chazal tell us, there's another medrash. And the medrash says that when we are afraid of Hashem, Soif davar kol nishmas al kim yiro, as Shlomo Melech tells us, if we fear Hashem, we will not be afraid of our enemies. And not only that, our enemies will be afraid of us. And that is the key for our success in this world. Soif davar hakol nishma es Elokim yiro. Yiras Hashem, to fear Hashem. Kishu manichin es yirosoi. Af umois poishin behen. But if we, chas v'shalom, God forbid, push aside that fear of Hashem, then the nations of the world, the enemies of the Jewish people, come and attack. Chas v'shalom lo yaleinu. It should never happen. David HaMelech, he said these words when he went to battle and fight against Amalek. The gematria of Amalek is suffix, doubt. Amalek wants to introduce to the world that there is no Elokim, there is no God running this world. In this capital over here, there are 13 times it says Hashem's name in the midah of Rachamim, Yud Kei Vav Kei, corresponding to the Yud Gimel midas of Rachamim. Hashem karachum v'chanun erech ha'payim v'rav chesed emes, which we recite, of course, we all know, by Yamim Norarim. David HaMelech is teaching us a very important lesson over here, that we have to mechazik our fear of Hashem, and if we do that, we won't be afraid of anyone and anything. But now let's go to a parsha which we'll have in Hashem in a few weeks, Parshas Ki Seitzei. In the back of your sitter, there are sheish zechiros after Shachris, 6 remembrances which we're encouraged to say. It's a mitzvah, each one you say. We have one that deals with Amalek. We come back to Amalek. And the truth is, before we go to that, I want to actually go to the end of Parshas Devarim, because it says over there, when Yeshua was given the instruction that he would be going into Eretz Yisrael, he was told, Loi tiroum, ki Hashem Elokeichem, hu hanilchom lachem. The parsha ends in Parshas Devarim. Loi tiroum, you will not be afraid. There's nothing to be fearful from. Ki Hashem Elokeichem, hu hanilchom lachem. Hashem, your God, will fight for you. If we fear Hashem, there's nothing to be afraid of. But now we go to Parashat Ki Seitzei. What does it say over there? At the end of the parsha, we have a remembrance to remember what Amalek did to us. Zochor is asher oso l'cha Amalek baderech b'tzeistem Mitzrayim. Remember what Amalek did to you on the road when you left Mitzrayim. Asher korch baderech vayizanev b'chol kol hanechesholim acharecha, and he cut off the weak ones. And you were tired. You hear these words? We were not fearing Hashem. What happened when we didn't fear Hashem? Amalek came. If we fear Hashem, Amalek will not come. The parsha right before this discussion of remembering what Amalek did to us, if you turn back the page in Parshas Ki Seitzei, the Torah Kedosha tells us about being honest with your weights, with your measurements. Don't have your scales that are not honest in business. And if a person does these things cheats in business. It's an abomination in the eyes of Hashem. Rabbeinu Bachai, he asked the question, what's the juxtaposition between these two parshios? Right before the discussion of Amalek, we have a discussion of being honest in business. And Rabbeinu Bachai, I saw the Kliyakar also asked the same question. The answer is as follows. If people, Rahman Litzlan, will not be honest in business, they will be megared, they will arouse Amalek to come against us. And that's why the Torah first tells us the Isser of the weights of do not cheat in business. Let's go back to that Medrash we said. When did David HaMelech originally say this kapitel, which was our question? When he went to fight against Amalek in the first place. Hashem Oiri V'yishi Mimi Ira. Who will I be afraid from? But if a person is not implementing this attribute, this midah of Yira Shemayim, so he feels, I have a family to feed. I have to make a living. I have to be more successful than I am already. So then they start forgetting about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they start cheating and stealing in an incorrect way. And then what happens? Then Amalek comes. Because we weren't fearing Hashem. We weren't fearing Hashem. Then Amalek comes into the picture. Zoch is asher asu lecha Amalek. Why did Amalek come? A lack of Yirah Shemayim. But if we have the Yirah Shemayim, we won't have problems with Amalek. We won't have problems with anyone else either. So just to review before we conclude. We had mentioned that in the fabric of the creation of the universe, we have the 10 praises of Tehillim. That when we say Tehillim, we are connecting to the core of the existence, of our existence of this universe. And that's why it has the ability to heal. I heard a story, as was said in the bio, I learned in Yeshivas Chaim Berlin. One of the Rosh Yeshivas, Rabbi Yonatan David, Rav Hutner's son-in-law, who is in Harnov, in Pachel Yitzchak, the Yeshiva over there, he heard that there was a Talmud that was sick. There was a Talmud that was sick. And he spent 3 hours consecutively saying Tehillim to the late hours of the night until he got a message that the Talmud was better. He connected to the fabric of the universe by saying Tehillim. I want to tell you something. I love all Jews. It's our job, but I love all Jews. And I'm not a Lubavitcher Chassid. But the story I'm about to share with you is probably my most beautiful story. Whenever you have speakers, they say, this is probably my most beautiful story. And I'm not saying it because I'm the speaker here now. Story goes back to around the year 1927, when the Rayatz, Rav Yosef Yitzchok Schneerson, the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, was spreading Torah as much as possible, and he was taken by Russian soldiers, and they pointed their gun at him. The soldier pointed his gun at the Rayatz. And he said the following: your little toy, referring to the gun, can intimidate only a man who has many gods, but one world. But because I have only one God and two worlds, I am not impressed with your little toy. Put away your gun. David, Mimi Ira. David HaMelech is telling us, Hashem Uri V'yishi Mimi Ira. Is this not an expression of what we are saying in real life, where Rav Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson was faced with a gun in his face, pointed at his face, and he said, put away your toy. I am not afraid of you. This is what David HaMelech is saying. If we strengthen our Yiras Shamayim, there's nothing to be afraid of. Mimi Ira. When COVID hit a few years back, one of my Rebbeim, he said over, Rabbi Yamim Norarim from Chaim Berlin, that we have to be careful and look back at the Torah Akdosha of the Chet HaEgel, when there was craziness and confusion going on. Where's Moshe Rabbeinu? This confusion caused a lot of problems. We have to make sure we remain calm and relaxed, even in those crazy situations that might come up. Because we have to remind ourselves that our Father, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, knows what He's doing, even though we don't understand. So we said we have this power that Hashem gave us to heal, to improve, to do better with Tehillim. We said Tehillim was created by David HaMelech for us, Baruch Kodshoi. We are saying these words. These are our words of Tehillim. Achas sha'alti me'es Hashem, David HaMelech tells us, there's one thing I request, Oisa Avakesh, is shifti b'veis Hashem. And if you look in your siddur, if you have an art school siddur, go to the bracha of Hashivenu Avinu l'soyresecha, v'karvenu malkinu la'avodesecha. There's one word that it says above that bracha. And the Chavetz Chaim suggests that whenever you daven Shemona Esrei, first focus on what the introduction is of the bracha. And the introduction to the bracha, Hashivenu Avinu l'soyresecha, is tshuva. What is the greatest aspect of tshuva? It's limud HaTorah. And that's why we said, we're saying over Kapitel Chav Zayin, to remind us, how do we build our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Achas sha'alti me'es Hashem, oisa avakesh, shifti b'veis Hashem. It's through limud HaTorah. That's how we build that connection. It's through saying Tehillim. It's through davening Shemona Esrei. But it all comes back to Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. All goes back to Torah, limud HaTorah, learning, studying, connecting, lach zois b'noim Hashem, building that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As the Mesilas Yesharim tells us, when the person davens to Hashem, we have to envision HaKadosh Baruch Hu standing right in front of us. We're in front of Hashem. And when we take our 3 steps back, you do it slowly because we're departing from the King. And I don't want to leave. I want to stay closer to you, Hashem. I'm in the Kodesh Kadoshim now, the Rambam says. The Rambam tells us in Ma'ir Nevuchim, a person is where his mind is. And therefore, when we're in the Kodesh Kadoshim, that's where we are when we daven Shemona Esrei. We don't want to leave. Oise sholom b'mroimov, hu yasa sholom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. In conclusion, and I want to tell you, the hardest part of preparing this year is thinking what I will be leaving out to focus on these points. Uri V'yishi says, I have a sefer that says over here, the Doyer Tzion tells us Uri V'yishi is Gematria 613. Let's take a look at the picture. We just left Tisha B'Av last week. We are preparing now. Yesterday was Tu B'Av. The Sfarim bring down that already by Tu B'Av, when you write a letter to someone, or email, who writes letters anymore? When you write a letter, you already start saying, Ksiva v'chasima toiv, wishing someone a good gebench yar. Because Tu B'Av is already the introduction. It's the same gematria of Ksiva v'chasima toiv. Furthermore, Achas sha'alti me'es Hashem, Achas, Aleph, Chef, Ches, Sof, is gematria Eliyahu Mashiach. I want to give everyone the bracha that we should be zoicher. You, everyone you know, all of Klal Yisrael, that we should connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the Limud HaTorah, through the Oyri V'Yishi, through the Tayag Mitzvahs, and be zoicher to the Achas Sha'alti Mi'es Hashem Oyisa Avakesh Shifti Beveis Hashem Koy Mechayai, to the Achas, to Elyo, to Mashiach Tzedkeinu B'mher B'yameinu Amen. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Wow. Rabbi, thank you so much for your inspiration, for your enthusiasm, for inspiring us to take action here. I absolutely connected to so many of the things that you said. One of the things I loved most when you were talking about the Shmoneh Esrei, because I know, I don't remember, I wish I could remember who told me this once, but every time I say Shmoneh Esrei, this is what I think of. Every single time I do Shmoneh Esrei, is that when I walk back, I take the first 3 steps back. I'm imagining myself going 3 steps into an elevator, back into an elevator, and then the doors close, and you get shot up to the top floor of the building, and the door is open, and you walk out, take the first 3 steps forward, and it's just silent, and it's you, and it's Hashem, and everything else. You have this aerial view of your entire world, what was going on, all the craziness and the chaos and the noise goes away. And then as we come to that close, and again, that feeling, and when I would bow down every time, I especially here now in Yerushalayim, it's very easy because I'm so super close to where the Beit HaMikdash was and Bezrat Hashem will be, that when I bow, the first bow that I do, I imagine a line going from my head directly into Kodesh Kodashim, a line shooting. Well, that's what I envision every time I'm bowing. And at the very end, it's this painful, like what you were saying, this pain of having to take those 3 steps back. You want to continue. You want to continue the combo with Hashem, that closeness. It's not that you don't have it the rest of the day, but now you're going back into the noise. Take those 3 steps back into the elevator's door closed, and boom, you're put back down into the craziness. And the next question is, okay, those next 3 steps forward, what are you going to take from what the experience that you just had connecting to Hashem? Because, you're speaking about the concept of yir'ah. For me, the real essence of yir'ah, the concept of relationship, having a relationship with Hashem, is love. To fall in love with Hashem because you realize how much He's fallen in love with you. When you see how much Hashem has fallen in love with you, you can't help but love Him. So it makes sense because, the way I was thinking of it, as you were saying, obviously we know this, right? The concept of Amalek is also a safek. But on top of that, you're talking about not being afraid of your enemies. Our greatest enemy, the greatest safek, is the Yetzer Hara within us. That is something that prevents us from doing things, and we doubt whether we're even good enough to have a connection with Hashem. That's the biggest form of Yetzer Hara. But when we have a relationship with Hashem, when we realize how much He fell in love with us, and so then therefore we have no choice but to fall in love with Him. And so when you love somebody, you can't even think of doing something to hurt them. And that's what protects you. Can't even think about it because you love them so much. You only want to go above and beyond. So I very, very much connected to this. And one of the things I want to encourage all of us, because you've given us so many, you've also provided us with practical ways in which we can think, which I love, because we can get inspired. And I know you've all heard me say this, but if we don't take it into the practice, what's going to happen? You were talking about the shofar, that story where he shook, right? Because he heard the shofar. in a sense, Shabbat is like our Shabbat is in a sense a version of the shofar where if you listen to it, you can connect to, all right, am I going on the right path? Turn around, please turn, whatever, recalculating.
Right.
Right. But it truly, so that we have on a weekly basis. But if we think about it, our job is to incorporate these little droplets of Shabbatot, these little droplets of the shofar in our day, in whichever way that might be. I remember reading in a sefer somewhere, I don't remember where it was. I remember it was in the art scroll of the Igeret HaRamban, but I don't remember who said it. And it was talking about the concept and the idea of cheshbon nefesh and doing it when? A great time to do it is when you're eating. Because you eat 3 times a day, or you hope you do, maybe you eat 5 times a day also. Some people have the smaller meals. And when you sit down to the first meal, to really think, how have I been up until now? It's like your little Shabbat. It's that little bit of that recalculation, that recalibration. How has it been? And if you haven't been, in the way you want to be, that ahava that you have for Hashem, so now at least you think about it until the following meal. And he said also something interesting. Again, I don't remember who it was, and I feel bad I don't. But he said that why is mealtime a great time to do this? Because as we're eating, right, and we're filling our physical body, okay, if we've done something that's maybe not 100% great, the little last bite that we leave that we don't eat, in a sense, can act for us like a kapara on that avon that we did. And so it's a really great time. My encouragement to all of us is to figure out a practical thing for yourself, whether it's during your Amidah, whether it's during your Netilat Yadayim and thinking of the connection of Hashem, bringing Rachamim down to how am I using my hands, whatever it may be, okay? Or whether it's when you're eating, but to incorporate a small taste of the Shabbat, a small taste of the shofar, to remember how much Hashem has fallen in love with us, how much we therefore fall in love with Him, so that Shifti Bet Hashem, right, that you're actually experiencing it, and we don't have to wait only for the Rosh Hashanah and the Yom Kippur, but that we incorporate it into our day. So I just want to thank you because you brought so many of these concepts up for me, and it was really beautiful. I'm sorry for over talking here. I want to give an opportunity for if anybody has a question for the rabbi, and I posted in the chat over here again, I posted how to connect further with the rabbi, to follow the different classes that he has, the beautiful 10 to 15 minutes or 5 to 7 minutes. So it's little tastes every day. That could be your mini Shabbatot that you incorporate. If anybody has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself or to post in the chat. I'll give you all a moment, but don't go anywhere. Okay. Don't go anywhere because we're going to have the opportunity to incorporate a healing right now. Just like the rabbi said, we're hopefully going to finish a Sefer of Tehillim in a 6-minute period. We've done it before. We can do it again. And by doing so, really incorporate healing. So I'll see if anybody has any questions. In case you're shy, it's all good. I want you to know, Rabbi, the women on this chat here, okay, how incredible they are. You understand? I've fallen in love with them in a tremendous way. We've connected for the past years in classes and shiurim. So many of them come to every single shiur that we do with so much excitement and so much enthusiasm. So I want to thank them. I want to thank you, Rabbi. And I want to thank, of course, Hashem, because he gives me the opportunity to do this. I don't even know how I'm lucky to do it, but I appreciate it. Okay,
Thank you very much once again to everybody and for joining, whether you're in Eretz Yisrael, Erev Shabbos, and of course to our host, Ms. Orly Waba. Wonderful, great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. We're going to be doing right now our Tehillim read. I just placed in the chat, just in case you didn't see, the link to join the raffle. You'll have your name or a loved one's name on the parak of Tehillim of your choosing for a month. Okay, we're having hundreds of sefarim being finished on a monthly basis. Tremendous thing. So fill out the raffle. And now we're going to do our Tehillim read. And immediately after that, we'll be selecting our raffle. I do want to say a thank you to all of you. I know many of you here joined when I had an emergency Tehillim reading for my niece. I want to tell you, Baruch Hashem, she is home. She went this week back to the cardiologist. They took an echo. Everything is amazing. And they had a Seudat Hoda'ah this week. And I want to thank every one of you that participated in the Tehillim for her. I'm beyond grateful. Truly the power to heal, the power to heal. So really, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay, here we go with our Tehillim read. On behalf of Abraham's legacy, we are excited to lead you in a Tehillim reading, where each and every one of us, from wherever we are in the world, can easily join in and complete a book of Tehillim in unison within minutes through a very special app called Abraham's Legacy, Tehillim Together, in memory of Avraham ben Polin. To be part of the global Tehillim read happening now, download Abraham's Legacy on your mobile device from the App Store, available for iOS and Android. You can also scan this QR code with your phone. To scan a QR code, simply open the camera on your phone and hold it up to this image. A link will appear on top, which you can click, and it will direct you to download the app. I'll give you all a moment to download the app. Sign in, and in a minute, we will all click on the Start Reading button on the main screen, and each of us will receive a different perek from the Sefer of Tehillim so that we can complete the book and add to the global count. In the top right corner, you can click the icon to switch your language if you like. You'll also be able to see in real time the amount of people reading and countries reading. Don't forget, you'll need to confirm that you've completed the chapter. Let's put a few minutes on the clock to read in unison so that we can unleash the power of our combined tefillah. Tizku l'mitzvot.
ריח הקרבות עוד באוויר, עם עייף חובש פצעיו, יושב סופר ימיו, צעקות בושה בכל העיר, דור רוצה תשובה עכשיו, זכאי ולא חייב, בגוף עייף מכישלונות, בלב שבור לחתיכות, נחכה לך שתקבל פנינו, לך קראנו בלילות, ועוד נצעק ברחובות, רחם עלינו אבא הושיענו, הושיענו. חיש את פעמיו, רוצה הכל עכשיו, שמש בשמיים אפורים, עם בארץ אבותיו, נלחם עוד על חייו, בגוף עייף מכישלונות, ולב שבור לחתיכות, נחכה לך שתקבל פנינו, לך קראנו בלילות, ועוד נצעק ברחובות, רחם עלינו אבא הושיענו, הושיענו. הלב שלי נקרא לשניים, מה שלא ראתה שפחה למים, כמו סופה מן הים עולה, כמו טופה של מרים פועם, ואין תרופה בעולם. הלב שלי מרים ידיים, כבר מועד לא עומד על הרגליים, שבר כלי שאין בו כבר מה, והשמיים הם בלי חומה, איך אעבור בתוך הים ביבשה. ורק אתה יכול להפוך מספדי למחול, לזכך את החול, לרכך בי הכל. ורק אתה מבין איך לגשת ללב שלי, משכך כל כאב שבי, מרפא את הלב. הלב שלי נקרא לשניים, חציו השם וחציו לשם שמיים, כמו סופה מן הים עולה, כמו טופה של מרים פועם, ואין תרופה בעולם ללב. ורק אתה יכול להפוך מספדי למחול, לזכך את החול, לרכך בי הכל. ורק אתה מבין איך לגשת ללב שלי, משכך כל כאב שבי, מרפא את הלב. ויש אוצר שמציק לצאן, ואין ציר שיצעק לצור, רק אני מול ים שלם ולב שבור. ורק אתה יכול להפוך מספדי למחול, לזכך את החול, לרכך בי הכל. ורק אתה מבין איך לגשת ללב שלי, משכך כל כאב שבי, מרפא את הלב. ורק אתה יכול להפוך מספדי למחול, לזכך את החול, לקדש בי הכל. ורק אתה מבין איך לגשת ללב שלי, משכך כל כאב שבי, מרפא את הלב, מרפא את הלב.
And you can go ahead and you can finish the parak that you're on. Baruch Hashem, we were part of finishing the end of one book, and we're over a third into another book. What a beautiful thing to be reading with all of you. I always love reading together with people. It makes me feel very, very good. I want to thank you guys all for being here. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be doing the raffle now. So if you haven't yet filled in the form, I placed it over here in the chat. I'll place it one more time just so that you all have it. And you can go ahead and fill it in. And we'll be, like I said, we'll be doing the raffle. Let me pull it up over here. Just a moment. Okay. Here we go. I see a few more people are still adding, so I want to give you the chance to do so. Okay, here we go. And I'll share my screen so we can see who's the winner. And if you win, I will be reaching out to you so that you can send me the name of the person that you would want and which parak you would want. So here we go. And the winner of the raffle to have the perek for 1 month is Menucha. Mazal Tov, Menucha. Like I mentioned, I'll be reaching out to you via email, so you can send me the name of the person that you would like it to be dedicated to, whether it's yourself or somebody else, and the actual perek that you would like as well. I want to thank all of you for being here. Bezrat Hashem, we're going to continue doing programming. I want to mention one thing, just so that you know, I had actually a meeting today with the development company, and Baruch Hashem, they gave me a proposal. Now, we are short with Abraham's Legacy. We are short. I know it's going to seem like it's a lot that we're short, but we've raised some funding. We are short about $20,000 right now. I'm not expecting anybody here to write a check for $20,000, but why am I mentioning it? I'm mentioning it. All I know is I'm going to keep taking steps. I told Hashem, he's the CEO. He has to deal with the finances. It's not my thing. I can't do that. But we're going to continue to take steps. Perhaps if anybody here knows of people of means that may want to get involved, contributing whatever amount they would want to contribute to help us get to that goal, we're going to be adding in some incredible features. Some of you already know what some of those features are. We've had meetings about them. But please, if you do know of anybody, feel free to schedule a meeting. I can show them exactly what we're looking to do and where it's going to. And if it's something that connects with them, this is a tremendous zechut for them, because at the end of the day, this is a journey that we're all taking together, Baruch Hashem. So thank you all for being here, for being a part of this incredible community. Thank you so much, Rabbi, for sharing your words of wisdom. Let's all take in practical things into our life to incorporate the words of the Rabbi and to really increase our Yirat Hashem, to fall in love with Hashem every single day, knowing how much He loves us. And remember, Tehillim, Tefillah, it changes us. And when we change, our whole world changes. Have a great night, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.